Good evening, people. Good evening, everyone. How did your day go today? How did your Sunday go? Hope you had a great day. Hope things went according to plan. Hope you had a nice day. It's that time again where we have our talk, our conversation. And I do believe today is going to be a nice time. Today's talk is going to be a nice talk. So, we'll still continue from where we stopped last time. We already started a new series called Focus that is centered around focus. And we did the first episode already. So this episode number two. This episode is all centered around being busy or busyness not being the same as being productive. That's the whole theme in my mind for tonight. So, friends, tonight I want to talk to the person who is doing something, but deep down, you know that nothing is really changing. Or you're doing something, and deep down, you know that not enough is changing. I want to talk to the person whose days are full. Your days are full, but your heart is still frustrated. I want to talk to the person who wakes up early, moves all day, answers calls, solve problems, carries people, handles responsibilities, and keeps, everything going. But you still lay down at night with that quiet and painful question. You know what the question is? Why do I feel like I'm doing so much, but I'm getting nowhere? That's the question. Why do I feel like I'm doing so much, but I'm getting nowhere? Why do I feel this tired, but still behind? Why do I feel this busy, but still this stuck? Why do I feel like I gave everything today, but somehow I never touched the thing that actually matters most? Why? That is what I want to talk about tonight. Because one of the most dangerous traps in life is when activity starts masquerading as progress. When busyness starts masquerading as purpose. When movement becomes a substitute for direction. When busyness becomes a substitute for purpose. When exhaustion becomes a substitute for impact. And the tragedy is many good people, they get trapped around this axis. Not lazy people. I didn't say careless people. I didn't say unserious people. Good people. Responsible people. Dependable people. High capacity people. People who care. People who carry others. People who are always on. People who have been used to pressure, urgency. They've been used to demand. They no longer know the difference between being full and being fruitful. But friends, there is a difference. There's a difference. A life can be full and still be misaligned. A life can be full and still be going nowhere. A week can be packed with activities and still be unproductive. A person can be exhausted and still be avoiding what matters most. And some of you already know this message is for you. You already know this talk is for you because your calendar is full, your mind is full, your phone is full, your obligations are full. Thank you so much, Caden. Your house is full, your responsibilities are full, but your soul is asking a different question. What is all of these activities? What is this building? That's what your soul is asking. What is this space producing? What is all this effort becoming? What is all this busyness doing to me? Because if all your movement is not moving you towards something meaningful, then you're not just tired. You're being drained by motion without meaning. And tonight, I want to help somebody separate two things that many people confuse: being busy and being productive. Because they're not the same. They're not the same. Being busy means you're occupied. Being productive means you're advancing, you're making progress. Being busy means your energy is being spent. Being productive means your energy is being invested. Being busy means a lot is happening around you. But being productive means it means something meaningful is happening within you and through you. And if you do not learn that difference, if you do not take time to say, hey, what's the difference between both? You can spend years being admired for how much you handle, how much activities go through you, how much things you put on the table, while privately you are grieving how little of your real life you actually touched. Friends, that is pain, and that is painful. So tonight, I want us to slow down a little bit. I want us to look honestly at the way many people are living. Because some of you are not weak. I always say that on this channel. You're not weak. If you're my subscriber, you follow me, you must have heard me say that a lot of times. You're not weak. You're just overextended. Some of you are not lazy. You are simply misdirected. You're going on the wrong direction. Some of you are not incapable. You are consumed by too many things that looks important, but are not truly foundational. And some of you are not failing because you're not trying. You're failing because your effort has spread across so many urgencies that your purpose keeps getting your leftovers. Friends, that changes tonight. So if this word is already finding you, if this word is already speaking to your heart, if this word is already describing you, if you've been busy but not being productive, if you've been handling life but not building the life you want, if you've been stretched thin but not satisfied, then what you need is alignment. Alignment is all that you need. And that's what tonight's talk is about. It's not just about doing less. No, tonight it's not about doing less. It's not about being efficient either. Not about creating better schedules. No. Tonight is about alignment. Tonight is about making sure your effort is going somewhere. It's not just scattered. While I was preparing for this talk, one of the things that came to my mind, one of the points I jotted down is why is it that so many people feel exhausted but they're not changed? They feel that like they feel tired, they feel so busy, so worn out, so worked out, so spent, but they're not changed. And I concluded that a lot of people are exhausted not because life is entirely wrong, no, but because too much of their energy is being consumed by things that never truly move them forward. So their energy is being spent, it's not invested. That's the hidden pain, you know. They are tired but not transformed. They are busy but not fulfilled. They're occupied but not anchored. And that kind of exhaustion is different because there's a special kind of tiredness, all right, that comes from meaningful labor. Like personally, I'm doing YouTube. I'm talking on YouTube. There's a kind of tiredness that comes with this for sure. But if it's something I love doing, if it's something I want to do, I give my time to, I don't feel that. If you pour into something you believe in, if you build something that matters, if you show up for a purpose that is connected to your values, you may still get tired. You may get tired, but that tiredness carries dignity. That tiredness carries a kind of peace. Because even though you are spent, even though you're used up, you're fatigued, you know why you're spent. You know why you're used up. But there's another kind of tiredness, and that one is heavier. That's the tiredness of scattering yourself, the tiredness of responding all day but never leading your own life, the tiredness of solving immediate problems while your deeper goals they stay untouched, the tiredness of staying in motion while feeling emotionally disconnected from what your life is becoming. That kind of tiredness makes people restless because their body is working, things are going on, but their spirit is unsatisfied. Their spirit is asking for more. Their hands are full. Their hands are full, but their heart is still asking for something more, something else. And many people do not know how to explain that feeling. They just know something is off. And I've said that I did a video around that on this channel. In one of the lives, we talked about that. Everything seemed okay, but you just feel like something is off. You just have that feeling. And in that time, they say things like, I've been doing so much, but I don't feel progress. I've been busy, but I still feel behind. I'm handling life. I'm doing what I can do, what I know how to do. But I don't feel close to the life I actually want. That's not a small feeling. It's not a small feeling, my friends. It's not a small feeling. That's a signal. And tonight I want to say something directly, okay? Busyness can hide broken direction. Sometimes the reason you do not feel settled is not because you need more rest alone. Sometimes you need better direction. Sometimes the reason you feel drained is not because you're weak. It is because you're pouring yourself in too many things that are not truly building the life you want. And when effort and meaning disconnect, people begin to burn out in many ways they can't explain, because their life is no longer in sync. What they are doing and who they are becoming, they are in north and south in terms of location. Their life is no longer in sync. So what happens? People burn out. They burn out because effort is on one side, meaning is on the other side. Now, let's be honest. Part of the reason this trap is so dangerous is because the world rewards it. People praise busy people. They admire the one who's always moving. They admire the one who's always multitasking, who is always booked, always rushing, always in demand. And because of that, many people learn to wear busyness like a badge. They put it here like a badge. Hello, Bradneck. How you doing? Thanks for joining. You hear people say it with pride. I've been crazy busy. Oh, I barely sleep. I've been running non-stop like a robot. I've been one thing after another. And I understand that. I understand there are some seasons that really they are very demanding. They need you to run after one thing or one thing after the other. I understand that. But if we are not careful, we'll start confusing overload with value. We'll start believing that if we are always needed, then we must be very important. If we are always overwhelmed, then we must be effective. If we are always tired, then we must be doing something right. No, my friends, no, 1,000 times no. No. Because some people are not carrying meaningful weight. They are carrying unnecessary weight. They are carrying dead weight. Some people are building, they are not building a purpose driven life. They are just trapped in what we call demand driven life. And demand, I've always said on this channel, demand is endless. Demand is like the dumpsters going to the dump yard. They never stop, they keep on coming. This is what you have to understand, my friends. If you let urgency lead you, it will never stop calling your name. See, there will always be another email, another request, another issue, another need, another interruption, another fire to put out. And if you build your life around constant response, you may spend your stronger years maintaining momentum for things that never become legacy. That's sobering. That's sobering. That's a lot. Because one day, some people will wake up and realize that what looked like responsibility was sometimes just chronic reactivity. You're just reacting. You've made yourself 911 without purpose. You're not leading your life. You're managing interruptions here and there. Leading your life and managing interruptions are two different things. They're not the same. And I need somebody hearing me tonight to understand this. A life that is always reacting cannot build deeply. A life that's always reacting cannot go steady. Depth requires attention, and depth requires intention. Progress requires prioritization. Meaning requires focus. Without that, you become an expert at staying busy and a stranger to your own calling. You become an expert at running everywhere and a stranger to the things that matters to you. You become an expert at becoming the good person and a stranger to what you are supposed to become. As I was looking at this topic, I said, Matt, what is real? What will you say real productivity is? What will you say real productivity is? For me, I said real productivity is not doing many things. That's how I see it. I might be wrong, so you can tell me. You can put it on the chat or you can put it in the comments whenever you watch this video. But real productivity is not doing many things. Real productivity is making meaningful progress on the things that matters most. That's how I see it. That is my definition. That's what I believe. Real productivity is making meaningful progress on the things that matters most. It is simple, but it is life-changing. Real productivity asks, what actually matters in this season? What am I building? What deserves my best energy? What moves the needle in my life? What creates fruits? What changes something real? What aligns with who I say I want to become? That is productivity. Not random activity, not endless reaction, not full days with no depth. Productivity is intentional movement, movement with intention. And that means something very important also. Some days can look very quiet on the outside, but they are deeply productive. You may say no to 10 things, no. You may ignore noise. You may protect your attention. You may work on one key issue, only one. You may have one important conversation. You just finish only one task. You spend one focused hour, only one focused hour on your healing, on your work, on your family, on your vision, on your relationship with God. Only one focused hour out of the 24. And by the world standards, it may not look dramatic, but in reality, that day have mattered. It may have mattered more than 3 hectic days full of noise. Why? Because productivity is not measured only by visible motion. It is measured by meaningful contribution. Meaningful contribution. That is why some of you need to stop judging your worth by how exhausted you are. Exhaustion is not always evidence of significance. Sometimes it is evidence of poor boundary, poor management. It is evidence of too many commitment. It is evidence that everybody's urgency had been allowed to occupy your life. That truth can sting. It may hurt, but it can also free you. Because the moment you stop worshiping busyness, you create room for deeper living. You create room for honest living. You create room for clarity. As I was looking at this also, I thought of a key point: the emotional trap of feeling needed. The emotional trap of feeling needed. A lot of people stay trapped in busyness because business make them feel needed. And feeling needed can be addictive. Oh, it's like dopamine. It can. Because when people depend on you, when people call on you, when people ask for you, when they lean on you, when they thank you, they praise your reliability and tell you they couldn't do it without you. It feeds something. Sometimes it feeds your identity. Sometimes it feeds validation. Sometimes it feeds the fear of being unseen. Sometimes it feeds the belief that your value is tied to your availability. And that is where it gets dangerous. Because if your identity becomes rooted in being needed, you will struggle to protect time for the deeper work. You will struggle to have time for what matters. You'll feel guilty when you say no. You'll feel uneasy when you rest. You'll feel selfish when you choose yourself. You feel anxious when you're not fixing something because what? Your identity is being tied to being needed. And because of that, a lot of people keep saying yes, yes, yes. They say yes to things that make them look admirable, while quietly they say no to the life that will make them whole, that will make them complete. That's a painful exchange. It's a pain. And you see, I need to say this carefully because I know many people listening are givers. You're beautiful givers, you're sacrificial people, you're strong people, you're generous people. But generosity without wisdom can become self sabotage. Generosity without wisdom can become self erasure. Giving without wisdom can take you down the line. You can give so much of yourself that when the room finally gets quiet, when everybody is gone, you do not know who you are without the needs of others telling you what to do next. Why? Because you've tied yourself to their needs that you now form your identity around that. Friends, that's not healthy. That is not real generosity. That is self-sabotage. That is one reason so many people stay busy. Because quietness may force them to ask harder questions. To ask questions like, am I actually happy? Am I actually happy? Am I building the right life? Do I even know what I am or what I want anymore? Have I confused responsibility with self neglect? Have I become loyal to being overwhelmed? See, these are very hard questions, but focused people learn to ask these questions because they know that a life built around demand will eventually collapse under the weight of unmet inner needs. Your inner needs, your needs that your life, the life that you're building depend on, will ask questions that will collapse your life if your life is built around demands. Let me pause here and ask a little question. I'll ask you something here. What keeps you busiest right now? What keeps you busiest? Is it your work? Is it your family demands? Is it overthinking? Is it people's expectations? Is it your phone? Is it trying to fix everything? Trying to be everything to everyone? What keeps you busiest? Just be honest with yourself. Because the first step towards alignment is recognizing what is eating your life, what is taking your time, what is taking you off from what you're supposed to be doing. What keeps you busiest in a very honest way? Because sometimes we say, I am just busy, when what we really mean is, I've let too many things become normal. And what is normal to you may still be unhealthy to you. All right, it matters. So what do you do? Name it. What keeps you busy? What keeps you busiest right now in your life? What is keeping you busiest? Let me introduce you to a man called David. David spends years working hard. David is disciplined. He provides. He shows up. He's there. He handles pressure very well. He meets deadlines. All right. He solves problems. So every year, people around him say the same thing. David, you're great. David, you're killing it. You're doing the right thing. You're successful. And for a long time, David believes them. Not because they were lying. They were actually not lying, but because he has not slowed down enough to ask a deeper question. When they say, David, you are successful, he should ask himself, successful at what? Successful at earning more money? Maybe. Successful at enduring pressure? For sure. He was. And he is. Successful at keeping things going? Absolutely. But one day, something unsettled David. He realized that he has built a life that looks productive from the outside, but he cannot remember the last time he felt deeply present inside the life he built. He cannot remember the last time he woke up with clear joy. He cannot remember the last time he gave his best energy to something that truly belonged to his deeper life. He cannot remember the last time he was not just surviving his responsibility. And for the first time in a long time, the applause does not comfort him because he realizes he may have become very successful at surviving. But survival is not the same as living, my friends. Survival and living are not the same thing. And busyness often keep people trapped in the survival mode. Get through the week. Handle the pressure. Meet the need. Pay the bills. Respond to the issue. Get some sleep. Repeat all over again. And after enough repetition, survival becomes identity. People stop asking what they want. They stop asking what matters most. They stop asking what they're becoming. They just manage. Oh, I've gotten a lot of that on this channel. So many people reach out to me, they're like, hey Matt, I'm just managing, man. I'm just trying to leave. And I'm like, no, you see, friends, management is necessary, right? It is. I can't downplay that. It's necessary. But management alone is not a life. While management is necessary, it is not, in and of itself, it is not a life. At some point, you can do more than keep things afloat. You can do more than keeping the light on. You must ask yourself whether your effort is forming the life you actually want to inhabit. That question carries everything and it changes everything. While I was looking at this topic, I said, man, why is it that some people they are productive in the public and they're empty in the private? And I think this needs to be talked a lot more because the world sees what you handle, but they don't see the cost, the trade-offs. It sees the output, not usually the erosion. It sees the achievement, not always the anxiety, not always the resentment, not always the emotional fatigue, not always the numbness, not always the disconnection at home. Not always the quiet feeling that your life is becoming efficient but not alive. See, and that's why many people stay confused for so long. They stay confused for a very long time because the outside is being rewarded while the inside is quietly warning them. The inside is waning off. People tell them you're doing well, you're doing amazing, but internally they're asking, then why do I feel like I'm disappearing? Why do I feel like things are not working? Why do I feel like something is off? Why? Why? See, this is real, my friend. This is so real. Because productivity without presence eventually leaves people empty. You can hit targets and still miss yourself. Oh, yeah, you can. You can deliver outcomes and still lose intimacy. You can maintain performance and still neglect your soul. So tonight, I want to challenge you. Do not measure the health of your life only by what gets done. No. Measure it also by what kind of person your pace is turning you into. What kind of person are you becoming as you hit these targets? Are you becoming more grounded? Or are you becoming more reactive? Are you becoming more present or more fragmented? Are you becoming more aligned or more resentful? Are you becoming more at peace or more mechanically efficient and emotionally absent? Are you becoming a robot? That's what I'm asking. Those questions, they matter. They matter because a life that produces but does not connect eventually starts to feel like a machine. You start to feel like a machine. And you're not made to live like a machine. That's why God gave you feelings, you know, connection. You were made to live with intention, not living like a machine for task. Now let's talk about something that is going to be painful. I thought about this before I wanted to say it, but I said, you know what, Matt, you just have to say it. The most important things in life are not always, and they are often the least urgent in the moment. That's why people neglect them. Your health rarely screams until you have neglected it for a very long time. Your marriage, it strains. Your relationship, it strains. It it often happens quietly. Your spiritual life gets dried gradually. A dream can die by delay. You have this good dream in your mind, you have everything laid out, but delay starts killing it. A child can grow up while you are just trying to get through the season. You're on the dining table, but your head is in a different physical address. So your child is growing up before you, but you're not present, but you are present. Your own emotional life can wear out, even in the background, while you keep handling responsibilities. Why? Why? It's simple because important things do not shout. They are not dramatic. Urgent things shout. Urgent things allowed. Notifications allowed. Emails allowed. Deadlines allowed. Demands allowed. Bills allowed. But deeper things, they often whisper. Your peace whispers. Your creativity whispers. Your health whispers at first. Your calling whispers. Your becoming whispers. Your need for stillness whispers. And if your life is built around things that shout, things that are loud, you will miss what matters most. You will miss it. This is why business is so dangerous. It trains people to respond to noise. It trains people to respond to urgency while neglecting depth. And over time, the neglected things becomes what we call the painful things. Think about your health. After all is said and done, after you've gotten all you need to get, after all the targets, your health starts waning off. At what cost? My friend, at what cost? Business trains people to respond to noise only, and you neglect the things that are deep. So that is why focused living is not just productive living. I don't see it as when I was building this whole series, right? One of the things in my mind is that being focused is not just being productive. That's not how I see it. Being focused is also being protective. I see focused living as protective living. It protects what matters from being drowned out by what is loud. Let me say something to somebody who is feeling exposed by this message, okay? I know this message hits hard. So maybe you're exposed by the message, but let me say something to you. You're not wrong because you've had demanding seasons, okay? Life may be genuinely heavy, and I know that. I've lived through that. You're not weak because you get overwhelmed or you got overwhelmed. You're not failing because you've had to carry a lot. But you do need to ask a brave question now. Today, is my business building my life or it is burying my life? That is the question. Is this space moving me towards what matters or keeping me too occupied to notice what matters is sleeping? Is this effort creating fruits or is just consuming me? Is my life aligned or merely full? That question can save you years. It can save you years. Because some of the most painful regrets are not dramatic moral failures. Sometimes they are slower than that. Sometimes regret sounds like I was there but not present. I worked hard but neglected what mattered. I handled everything I thought but lost touch with myself. I kept saying I'll do it later, but later became years. This is why this conversation is so important because I do not want you to simply admire responsible people. I want you to become an aligned person. There was someone with a dream that mattered very deeply. A real dream, not ego, not fantasy, not performance, a real thing. Something he knew was in his heart. And it was there. And every week, he told himself he will make time for it. This weekend, I will. Next week, I will. After work settles down, I will. After the house gets calm, I will. After this stressful month, I will. After this season, of course, I will create time. But the dream kept getting the leftovers. The best of his energy is spent on things, on other things. The dream gets the leftover energy. Late night scraps of attention, which is not optimal, is what the dreams get. Tired fragments of energy here and there. Occasional burst of inspiration after listening to motivation, but no real structure around them, and they collapse under the blow of a breeze. And because of that, the dream stayed emotionally important, but practically unfed, practically starved. That's a painful place to live. To care deeply about something and keep proving by your schedule that it is not truly prioritized. Eventually, that person had to admit sometime, and he admitted this very hard. They had not lacked desire. No, they had not lacked desire. They had not lacked, what they lacked is what we call protected attention. And that's why many people, that's what a lot of people need to hear. The issue is not always that you do not care. Sometimes it is that what you care about has not been given real space in your life because business ate up the room. And listen carefully, my friends, listen. Whatever only gets your leftovers will almost always remain underdeveloped. It includes your dreams, it includes your marriage too. It includes parenting, and it also includes your walk with God. It includes your health, your creativity, your peace. If it only gets what remains after everything else has been fed, it will stay weak. It will stay malnourished. And some of you do not need more passion. You need to stop letting everything else get fed. You need to stop letting everything else get fed. Now, this is where freedom begins, okay? You do not have to do everything. Take this from me. You do not have to do everything. And you do not have to live like every demand is equally sacred. No. Some of you would become more fruitful if you did fewer things with greater depth. That's what I noticed, that's what I learned. And that's the truth. Fewer commitments, fewer distractions, fewer conversation, fewer explanations, fewer emotional leaks, fewer responsibility that are not truly yours to carry. You're a good person, I know, but don't let that climb into your head. See, with that recovered space, you have more presence, you have more concentration, you have more intention, you have more depth, you have more actual progress. Because the power is not always in doing more. The power is often in doing the right things consistently with full attention. And that's where strength lives. A focused hour can be more powerful than a frantic day. One honest boundary can change the emotional tone of your week. One protected morning can begin healing that your mind. One deep conversation can transform a relationship more than a month of distracted coexistence. Never underestimate depth, my friend. Depth changes things that speed cannot. And busy people often fear depth because depth requires quietness. It requires honesty. It requires choice. And that's also how freedom begins. That's the beginning of freedom. I would have loved to continue this talk tonight. It's a lot in my mind. I just think about it. There's so many things to talk about on this space. I don't know if I'm going to do a part two on this, but I don't want to do that. But let me bring this home, all right? Let me bring this home. I just have to chop off some thoughts in my mind. I'll do another video. You can live a whole life being admired for how much you carry and still feel the heartbreak of knowing your deepest life never got your best attention. That is why this talk matters. If you've seen this, just go watch this again. I want you to watch this again because I also do. I do not want you to simply survive with excellence. No. I want you to live with alignment. They are two different things. I do not want you to just become more efficient at holding everything together. I want you to become wiser about what deserves your life. I do not want your children, your calling, your peace, your future, your health, your healing, your joy, your spiritual life to keep getting the last piece of you. No. There has to come a point where you say, I've spent enough years proving I can handle a lot. Now I want to make sure my life is actually becoming something I can be present in. Friend, that is maturity. That is wisdom. That is focus. And that is how productivity stops becoming a performance and starts becoming a path that you tread on. A path towards a life that is not just full but fruitful. So here's your challenge for this week. Ask yourself at the beginning of every day, what will make today meaningful, not just busy? If you have to write it down, write it down. And before the day ends, make sure you've touched it. Make sure you've referred to it. Not everything. No, just one thing. Because when you keep touching what matters, your life starts changing slowly but surely, then clearly. And here's the second challenge, okay? Pick one important part of your life that has been living off your leftovers. Which important piece of your life have you been giving your remnant energy to? Pick one part and give it a protected time this week. Create a time for it, only that this week, not someday, this week, this week. That might be the beginning of your return. And I did a video call. Someday can be eating up your life. Please go watch it if you've not seen it. Go watch it. And if you've not subscribed to this channel, kindly do. It will change your life. I promise you. So, friends, you do not need to be ashamed because you've been busy. No, life can be demanding. I know that. But from this day forward, do not let busyness alone convince you that you're progressing. Ask deeper questions. Is this fruitful? This busyness, this thing I'm doing, is it aligned? Is it building the life I actually want? Is this space helping me become who I say I want to be? Because in the end, your life will not be changed by how much you handled. It will be changed by what your energy actually built. And some of you are about to take your life back, not by doing more, but by choosing better, by moving from reaction to intention, by moving from noise to clarity, by moving from overload to alignment, from busyness to real productivity. You know what, friends? I love you all. And you stay grounded, okay? Stay honest, stay intentional. And remember, busyness is not the same as productive. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. Good night.